Hey, what's up guys, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video we're going to be playing the double dozen roulette strategy. It's very simple. We're going to be covering 2 dozens. The thing with this strategy is we're covering 2 dozen. That's 24 numbers that we're going to be covering. I find it a bit difficult to recover from any strategy when you're covering more than 18 numbers, but you guys wanted a strategy where you are a double dozen strategy. So I'm going to be using a very simple betting progression. So I'm covering 1 unit. I'm going to start my bets by covering with 1 unit on each dozen. If I lose, I'm going to increase 2 units to each of my dozens, and if I have a win, I'm going to -1. Very simple. Now the thing with this strategy, for example, okay, so the last 2 dozens that came was the second and first, which is 16 and number 1. So I'm making my bet selection based on the third dozen going cold. So we all know we get those dozens that stay out probably 8, 9, sometimes 12, 15 times in a row. So I'm playing for that third dozen to go cold. But the risk is I'm risking 2 units. When I have a hit, I'm only going to profit 1. So that's why I need to increase my bets by 2 units when I have a loss. So let's get started. As we go along, we'll see how it works out. I'm using a 500 unit bankroll. That is also my stop loss. So as I said, I'm going to cover the first and second dozen. That's based on the last 2 outcomes, which is 16 and 1. So I'm playing for the third dozen going cold. So let's get started. I'm playing for 1 unit profit. So I have a hit. I'm going to follow the last 2 dozens again, which is 18. 16 is also in the second dozen, so I'm going to bypass and go back to 1. So I'm covering the first and second dozen again. I'm playing for 2 units in profit. So I've made that 2 units. As long as I'm winning, I'm going to stick with these 2 dozens. I'm playing for the third dozen going cold. And the third dozen came. So now I was in a profit of 2 units, and I had a loss there. So I lost the 2 units that I had in profit. Now I have to increase each of my dozens by 2 units. So the last 2 dozens is number 33 and 17, which is the second and third dozen. So I rebet. I increase each of my bets with 2 units. I spin. I'm playing for anything greater than 2 units in profit. So I have a hit. I'm up 3 units. As long as I'm in profit, I'm going to restart the entire progression. So I cover the second and third dozen again. I'm playing for 4 units in profit, and I lose. I cover the last 2 dozens. I increase my bets by 2 units on each dozen, playing for 4 units profit. So I've made that 4 units profit. I'm going to restart the entire progression. Now when I've made a target of 10 units profit, I'm going to log out. I'm going to take a break of 5 to 10 minutes and come back again, play for another 10 units in profit. So as long as I'm having these hits, I'm going to stick with my 2 dozens, playing for 6 units in profit. I have a hit again. So now you're covering 24 numbers. It gives you a really good chance of hitting, but is when you have those long losing streaks, it's going to take you a while to recover, and that is what I'm afraid of with this strategy. So we lose there. We were up at 6 units. We were playing for 7 units in profit. I cover the second and third dozen. I increase each of my bets with 2 units. I spin. My target is 7 units profit, and I lose again. Okay, so I increase my bets again by 2 units. So I rebet my 3 units. The last 2 dozens is 8 and number 30. I increase each of my dozens with 2 units. So I have a hit. I'm going to minus 1 unit from each of my dozen. I'm now covering with 4 units on each dozen. So I have a hit. I am up to 7 units in profit. I'm going to restart the entire progression, playing for 8 units in profit. I have made that 8 units. I restart, playing for 9 units in profit, and I lose. I'm going to increase my bets by 2 units. So 9 units is my target. When I've made that 9 units, I'm going to restart. So I have a hit. I'm up to 9 units. I'm going to restart the entire progression. My overall target for this session is going to be 10 units. And I have made that 10 units profit. So this is where you log out. You're going to take a break of 5 to 10 minutes and then come back again. So I'm just going to force a spin and pretend that I took that break. You are not going to do that, guys. You're actually going to take that 5-10 minute break. So let's see if we can have a little losing streak and see how long it takes us to recover. So there's number 25 and 21, that is the second and third dozen. I'm playing for anything greater than 10 units in profit. I'm up to 11 units. So I restart again, playing for 12 units in profit. So as long as I'm having these wins, I'm going to just sit on those 2 dozens. So I rebet again. So I'm playing for the first dozen going cold. So far so good. I'm up to 14 units. Playing for 15 units in profit. Target is 16 units and I lose. Okay, so my target is 16 units. When I've made that 16 units, I'm going to restart. There's 12 and 26. That's the first and third dozen. I increase each of my dozens with 2 units. And I lose again. So I was covering each dozen with 3 units. I'm going to increase by 2 units. So that's going to make my cover 5 units on each dozen. Playing for 16 units in profit. And I lose again. So that's great. Let's see how long it's going to take us to recover from this little losing streak. I increase each of my dozen with 2 units. Now you can cover any dozens that you want, but I am just covering these 2 dozens based on my experience of playing the game and seeing those that 1 dozen going cold from time to time. So that's the reason I'm making my bet selection like this. So I was covering with 7 units on each dozen. I'm going to minus 1 because I had a win. And I lose again. So I rebet my 6 units and I increase each of my dozen with 2 units. I'm down 8 units. I'm playing for 16 units in profit. So I have a hit while covering with 8 units on each dozen. I minus 1 unit from each of my bets. So I'm back to 0 and I lose again, covering with 7 units. So I increase each of my dozen with 2 units. I have a hit. I'm going to minus 1 unit from each of my bet. And I lose again. So as long as I'm going to have I'm having these little losses in between, it's going to be very difficult for me to recover. But we're done in it. We're down 21 units. Let's see how long it's going to take us to recover. We're playing for 16 units profit. So I was covering with 10 units on each dozen. I minus 1. Now covering with 9 units on each dozen. I have a hit again, so I'm going to minus 1 unit, covering with 8 units on each dozen. Minus 1 unit again. So I need to have these wins in order to recover. If I have another loss here, it's going to just throw me off again. So I'm playing for 16 units in profit, so I'm up to 19 units. I just need 1 unit again to make my target of 10 units for this session. Now when you have 19 units in profit, you're not going to risk it for 1 unit and risk having those long losing streak where you can even lose your 19 units that you have already made, plus you can do some damages to your bankroll. But I'm just going to continue. But this is where you can take a break. You don't need to risk it for 1 unit, guys. So in this case, we had the win. We made the 10 units, so we're up to 20 units in profit. So this is where you take a break again of 5 to 10 minutes. So it's a little bit risky, guys. In my personal opinion, it's a little bit risky because of your covering 24 numbers. It's a little bit difficult to recover unless you're doing one of those double up and triple up every time you lose, and you need to have a really large bankroll to make those type of bets. Because I mean, remember, roulette is a risky and unpredictable game. You never know what's going to happen. And yes, I know it gives you a really good chance of hitting because you're covering 24 numbers, but these losing streaks happen. Let's see if we can just find one of those losing streaks so I can show you exactly what I'm talking about. So we lose there. I'm going to rebet. I'm going to stick with those 2 dozens. I'm going to increase 2 units to each of my bets. So I'm playing for anything greater than 20 units in profit. So I'm up 21 units. I'm going to restart the entire progression. So number 29, 35, it's on the 3rd dozen. I'm going to ignore that 0, and then there's number 9. As long as I'm in profit, I'm going to restart the entire progression using 1 unit. So I lose there. I cover the last 2 dozens. I increase my bets by 2 units each on each dozen. Playing for anything greater than 22 units. I have a hit. I'm up 23 units. Going to restart the entire progression. I'm up to 24 units. I have a hit again. So as I mentioned before, as long as I'm having these hits, I'm going to stick with those the 2 dozens that I'm betting on. So I'm playing for anything greater than 25 units. I had a loss there. I increase each of my bets by 2 units. So I have a hit, I'm up 26 units. I restart the entire progression. So I'm up 28 units. When I've made 30 units, I've made my target. That is when you log out, you take a break of 5 to 10 minutes. And I lose. So I'm risking, I was up at 29 units. I'm playing for 1 unit in profit. Let's see how if that risk is going to cost me playing for that 1 unit. So I rebet. I increase each of my bets with 2 units on each dozen, and I lose again, so that's great. I increase each of my bets by 2 units. I'm up to 5 units on each dozen. I'm playing for 30 units in profit, so I have a hit there. I minus 1 unit from each of my bets. So in this case, I managed to make the 30 units profit. But if you have a really long losing streak, guys, it's going to take you a very long time to recover, because you are covering more than 18 numbers. But I know you guys requested this video with the 2 dozens, covering the 2 dozens. Now I don't believe in doubling up and tripling up every time you lose. That is just lazy betting in my opinion, and it's very dangerous also. So I was using a 500 unit bankroll for this strategy. Now I've made my target. I've played 3 sessions. I've made 10 units on each session. Remember guys, you're going to take that 5-10 minute break on every 10 units that you make. You're not going to play for too long and give the wheel time to track you, if that is such a thing. I have no proof to back that up, as I mentioned in my previous videos. But you guys can have a go at it. For me personally, guys, I got to be honest with you, I think it's a little bit risky covering. I'm risking 2 units, and when I have a hit, I'm going to only profit 1. So I mean, if you guys can modify it and make it work for you, where you don't need unlimited bankroll or anything like that, or you can also change your bet selection to make it work for you. It all depends on how the wheel is playing at your casino. But remember guys, that roulette is a risky and unpredictable game. So always play responsibly. Never use money that you can't afford to lose. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video guys. Have a good one.